In our lesson today, we're going to have more practice with simple interest. Okay, one important thing to remember with simple interest is that simple interest is interest applied only to the initial amount, which again is called the principal amount. The formula that we use for simple interest says I equals PRT. Interest equals principal times rate times time. All right, your rate will be given as a percentage. You need to convert that into decimal form, and your time T always needs to be expressed in the number of years. So in example 1, they tell us Victoria opens a savings account with a deposit of $300. She will earn 1 6/10% interest each year. How much interest will she earn over 5 years, assuming that she doesn't add or take out any money? So in order to figure out that answer, we're going to use our formula, I equals PRT. And the question says, how much interest will she earn? So we're calculating the value of I. P, the principal amount that she starts with, she deposited $300 into her account, so that's how much she started with. The interest rate right here is 1 6/10%. Convert that into a decimal, move the decimal back once, twice to the left, and you get 16 thousandths as a decimal, 16 thousandths. And then T, your time in years. How much interest will she earn over 5 years? So we'll plug in 5 for the number of years. And so I is all alone on the left-hand side. To get its value, you need to multiply the 3 numbers on the right-hand side. 300 times 16 thousandths times 5. And when you do that, you're going to get a value of 24. So this means that Victoria will earn $24 in interest over 5 years. Okay, she will earn $24 in interest over 5 years. Now, there's a follow-up question that goes along with that. It asks, how much will Victoria have in her account at the end of 5 years? And again, we're assuming that she doesn't add or take out any money. So we have to take the amount that she originally deposited, which was the $300, and then you have to take the amount of interest that she's earned, $24, and to get the total, you add those together. Victoria is earning $24 in interest by leaving her money in the bank. So in order to get her total, you just add those together. You get 324. Victoria has $324 after 5 years. In our triad example, we're told that Victoria has another account at the bank that pays 2.5% simple interest. How much interest will she earn in 8 years on an initial deposit of $250? So we'll start with our equation, I equals PRT. How much interest will she earn? So we're calculating I, the interest. Her initial deposit, her principal was $250. The interest rate is 2.5%. All right, that's also 2 5/10%. Move the decimal point once, twice to the left, and you're going to get 25 thousandths as your rate in decimal form. T, the time in years, she's leaving it in the bank for 8 years. So in order to get the value of I, you're going to punch in your calculator, 250 times 25 thousandths times 8. And when you do that, you should get a value of 50. Okay, so this means that Victoria will earn $50 in interest over 8 years. Okay, and once again, we have a follow-up question. This time it asks, would the interest for the second year be the same if it were calculated on the total after the first year? Okay, if it was calculated on the total after the first year. Well, we can actually do that and see if we do get the same amount of interest. I equals PRT. Again, you're calculating the amount of interest. P this time, okay, we're going to use the total after the first year. Now, she started with $250 in that account, but she's earned $50 after the first year. So I'm going to add those together, meaning now after 1 year, she has $300. Right? The interest rate is going to stay the same, okay? And that was 25 thousandths. And we're going to calculate it for 1 additional year to see if we would get the same amount, okay? And we can tell that this is going to be different already, all right? So what we're going to do is punch this into our calculator. We're going to type in 300 times 25 thousandths times 1. Okay, and that's going to give us an interest of $7.50. Now, if we wanted to figure out how much interest she would earn in just 1 year, okay, we can take our answer from the previous one. She earned $50 in 8 years. All right, 50 divided by 8 equals 6 25/100ths, which is how much she would get after just 1 year. Okay, so you can see the amounts are different, okay? If she started with $250, in 1 year, she would earn $6.25 in interest. If she started with $300, though, she would earn $7.50 in interest. Okay, so we can say, no, the amounts are different because the principles are different. When you change the amount that you're basing your interest off of, that's going to give you a different interest amount altogether. In our next example, we're told that Maya's older sister got a loan to buy a used car for $3,400. What is the interest rate on the loan? Okay, so we're going to use our equation I equals PRT. Okay, and we're going to have to gather some information from the picture and from the words that they told us. Okay, her loan, first of all, was for $3,400. So that's the principal amount that she's borrowing, $3,400. Okay, and they want to know what is the interest rate. So R is what we're looking for. And now we need to see if we can get the value of I, the interest, and T, the time. Okay, so they say in the advertisement here, borrow $3,400 for this car today and pay $8.50 interest every month. Every month, okay? Well, if we remember with this equation, T, your time, is supposed to be in the number of years. So we're going to make this 1 year for the amount of time. If you're paying $8.50 interest every month, you need to take that number and multiply it by 12 to figure out how much interest you would pay in 1 year. So if we do $8.50 times 12, that's going to equal $102 in interest. Okay, so this is what our equation looks like. 102 equals 3,400 times R times 1. On the right-hand side, I'm going to start by multiplying 3,400 by 1, which is easy to do. That's just 3,400. So the equation really just says 102 equals 3,400 times R. To get R all by itself, you're just going to have to divide each side by 3,400. On the right, 3,400 divided by itself is 1, leaving you with R. On the left, 102 divided by 3,400 gives you a decimal of 3/100ths. But then this needs to be converted into a percentage. Move the decimal 2 times to the right, and you would end up with 3%. And so we can say that the interest rate is 3%. In the try it question, they tell us that another company will lend Maya's older sister $4,000. Every month, she'll pay $11.88 in interest. What is the interest rate rounded to the nearest 0.1% for 1 year? So let's start with our equation again. I equals PRT. This time, the company is going to lend my sister $4,000, so that will be her principal amount. What is the interest rate? R is what we're calculating. And we need to find the interest rate for 1 year. Okay, so again, we need to figure out how much interest she's going to pay in 1 year. They tell us that every month she'll pay $11.88. So to get that in the number of years, take $11.88, multiply it by 12, and that would give you $142.56 in interest. So that will go right here, $142.56. So there's our equation. And just like we did before, on the right-hand side, we'll multiply 4,000 by 1, which again is just 4,000. So 142.56 equals 4,000 times R. And we're going to have to divide each side by 4,000 to get R all by itself. When you do that on the right, that leaves you with R. On the left, if you punch this into your calculator, you're going to get a decimal that says 0.03564. Okay? Now, we need to take this decimal and change it to a percentage first. 0.03566, that should say. 4, move the decimal once, twice to the right, and that's going to be 3 and 564 thousandths percent. Now the directions say round your answer to the nearest tenth of a percent. So we're going to say that this is approximately, it looks like 3 and 5 tenths, but that 6 right there is enough to round us up to about 3 and 6 tenths percent. And so that's exactly what we will write. The interest rate is about, because we rounded, about 3 and 6 tenths percent. In our next example, we're told that Jake opened a savings account that earns 1.5% interest. Jake estimates that he will earn $240 in interest after 10 years. How much did Jake deposit when he opened the account? So we'll start by writing our equation for simple interest, I equals PRT. And it asks us, how much did Jake deposit when he opened the account? That's the principal amount, so that's what we're looking for, P, the principal. They tell us that the interest rate, it earns 1.5% interest. 1.5%, move the decimal point back 2 times to the left. As a decimal, that's going to be 15 thousandths. T, or time, well, he's going to do this after 10 years. He's estimating that he's going to pay $240 interest after 10 years. And again, after 10 years, he's going to earn $240 in interest. So that goes in for I. So our equation says 240 equals P times 15 thousandths times 10. On the right-hand side, we're going to start by doing 15 thousandths times 10. So we're going to have 240 equals P times. If you do 15 thousandths times 10, that equals 15 hundredths. So now, in order to get P all by itself on the right-hand side, since it's being multiplied by 15 hundredths, we'll divide by 15 hundredths on each side. Okay? On the right-hand side, 15 hundredths divided by itself is 1, leaving us with P. And on the left-hand side, 240 divided by 15 hundredths is 1,600. Okay, and so that means that Jake deposited $1,600 when he opened the account. Okay, that original deposit is your principal. This time he deposited $1,600 when he opened the account. In our triad example, we're told that Caitlin's brother borrowed money for school. The loan charges 6% simple interest, and he ended up paying $720 in interest after 6 years. How much did Caitlin's brother borrow for school? So we'll use our simple interest equation, I equals PRT. And again, they want to know how much did her brother borrow for school? That's the principal amount that we're looking for. They tell us that the loan charges 6% simple interest. As a decimal, that's going to be 6/100ths. So we can put that in for the rate. And he's paying $720 in interest over 6 years. So our time will be for 6 years. So there's our equation. On the right-hand side, we're going to start by multiplying 6/100ths times 6. So 720 equals P times 6/100ths times 6 is 36/100ths. So P is on the right-hand side. It's being multiplied by 36/100ths. So to get P alone, we'll have to divide by 36/100ths on both sides. On the right, 36/100 divided by itself, that's going to leave us with P, the principal. And if you type in 720 divided by 36/100ths into your calculator, you're going to end up with 2,000. This means that Caitlin's brother borrowed $2,000 for school. Okay, so make sure that you read the questions carefully, substitute the values into your simple interest equation, and then use your algebra skills to figure out the value of the variable that you are looking for.